I have 3 questions for you. Number 1, are you buried under a never-ending to-do list? 2, do you feel guilty for saying no? Number 3, are you worried about what other people think? If you checked all 3 of these, then you might find yourself in a position called pleasing, specifically pleasing others, even more specifically, people pleasing.
Flor y Canto presenta.
So I'm not making this video because I want you to buy a product or I want you to benefit me from somehow or some way. Because why? Because I've been a patient of people pleasing. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not like the perfect person that knows how to diagnose all these things, but I do know that people pleasing is a dangerous way of coping with something even deeper. Something that isn't really discovered and isn't talked about because we're not told to talk about it. But the reality is that we should talk about it. What is it? It being the reason we people please is because there's something inside us that's insecure. Here, I'm not a doctor, but I know a couple symptoms of what it is to people please. So just hear me out and listen to these. Are you afraid of being rejected or abandoned? 2, are you preoccupied about what others think and feel? 3, are you fearful of saying no, setting limits because you're afraid that you're going to be mean? Are you hungry for the approval of others? Are you stuck in relationships where they give more than they get? You're stuck because you feel like you're giving everything and you are not enjoying your relationships. Are you overworked because of an overdeveloped sense of personal responsibility? You feel like you're responsible for everything and everybody in that room. And you neglect your own needs. You don't matter because in the room, anybody else in the room matters. You're exhausted, you're overbooked, and you're burned out because you're always trying to take care of others. These are some symptoms of this kind of habit called people pleasing. And it's a dangerous habit. It's something that I've done and that I know many of us have actually done. But it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time because here's the reality of why we people please. The reality of why we people please is because there's something inside of us that's kind of afraid. That's not sure if it's real. That's not sure if it's enough. There's something inside. It's odd because you think that, okay, check this out. People pleasing starts with one gust of wind. It starts with the idea that I am not enough. I do not have enough value so that what I do matters. Or so that sounds kind of selfish, but it also can be took like this. I do not have enough value, so my life does not matter. So what I'm saying is, if you people please, check a moment that what you really might be saying to yourself when you're so preoccupied about what others people think and so preoccupied on doing everything for others that you do not matter. Check a moment to think, is it because I do not think that my life is as valuable as somebody else's? Very special motivational speaker called Daniel Habib had said that if you write a list of 5 people that you love, if you don't put yourself on that list, then you might have some stuff to think about. And that's true, because if you don't put yourself on that list, then that might be one of the reasons that you are so worried about what other people think, and you are so obsessed over making everything perfect. You are so obsessed over making sure that you're on everybody's good list that you don't feel yourself. You don't feel free. And if I could do anything, I told you I'm not a doctor, but I know that one of the roots of that problem called people pleasing is something really dear to us, really hit home. Something that a doctor doesn't even need to have the skill for. Why? Because the healing and the truth that really sets down and sets free that skill, bad skill of people pleasing is not given by a doctor. Why? Because the potion, the elixir, the medicine that fixes and that brings that solution is called love. It's called kindness. It's called breathing. something into that empty space inside of you. Because why? Because people pleasing comes from an empty spot. Because there's a spot inside that's wanting, that's not getting fulfilled. And so it's looking to be safe, covered up by making sure that everybody sees you in a good light. But in reality, when you don't see somebody, you're sad. So that means you live your life with a mask. And I don't know about you, but living a life with a mask is not living. That's surviving. And I don't know about you, but I wasn't made to survive. And you weren't made to survive either. You were made to live. But the worst part is this. Everything starts with the gust of wind, like I said earlier. But here's the gust of wind. I am not enough. I am not special. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. And the potion is love. And so if I could I wish I could have a gun that could shoot right into the empty spots inside of people's hearts and fill it to replace the word I am nothing with I am more than something, because I'm somebody. If I had a gun to enter into those spots that are kind of empty, that are the root for the unhappiness of people pleasing, do you know what I would say? I would say, you're special, you're valuable, you have worth, you can have friends, you can have a girlfriend, you can have a family, you can have a job, you can grow up, you can be yourself, and you can be happy. So if you do find yourself in that position, why don't you take those words for your own self? Let it be spoken into this space inside that worries about what other people think. So that next time that you wake up, your day is not a burden. So that your day is joyful. Because every day does not have to be a burden and does not have to be a soft, somber day. It can be an exhilarating, smiling, brilliant, and gorgeous day. Because you are more than what other people think of you. Hands down, in the eyes of people who do care about you, you're really special. But even if we go past that, the value of you being on this earth, the idea that God had thought of you to be alive, is more than worth for you to know that the person you need to please, if anything, is the heart inside of you, the truth inside of you, the God inside of you. God up there in here. So here's another interesting thought. People pleasing makes you unhappy. And I want to promise you something. God is happy. God is happy because God is not a people pleaser. God does not please your caprichos, as we say in Spanish. Caprichos would be like your little, like, what you want. Like, oh, I really want this, I really want this, I really want this. God does not get you that because He wants to please you. He's focused on what He wants, and He's determined. That's the type of person that God is. And God does care about what other people think, but He cares more about their heart than He does about what they think of Him. Why? Because I don't know if you knew, but Jesus 2,000 years ago, when He was walking, it's recounted in the Gospel of Matthew and different secular historians who knew that He was alive at that time and documented things about Him, that what Jesus actually said when He was on earth, there was a piece of his journey where he like rambled at the religious. The religious were called the Pharisees, and they were really used to being on top of everything. They were really picky, and they were very isolated. They were very tribal. And so here's a story of Jesus. Jesus walked up to the Pharisees, and what He said to them was, "Woe to you, Pharisees! Woe!" Let's go to contemporary. He basically said, "It's such a shame what you're doing, religious people." That's what He said. He said, "It's such a shame what you're doing." Why? Because you care so much more about the money that's in the church than you do care about the church or the people inside of the church. What a shame it is for you religious leaders who care way more about what you want than what the people need. What a shame it is for you who are so picky on people, because people come into church with earrings, and people come with ripped pants, or people come with tattoos, and you don't want them inside your church because that's not holy enough. What a shame for you, because you close the doors of church. You close the doors of the kingdom because you don't want anybody else to come in, but then you don't even do the right thing either, so you don't let people come in. And what are the people with tattoos do the right thing, but you who don't have tattoos do the wrong thing. So who wins here? So Christ technically just went off. That's the type of person he was. Christ was a person that went off. But why? Because he also told the religious people, he said, you do not understand what I stand for. And you don't understand me being God. Why? Because if you did understand me, then you would know that I stand for faith, justice, and love. And I hate injustice, faithlessness, and hate. So the religious had it all messed up because they were focused on themselves. But Jesus did not have it messed up because he was focused on justice, love, and truth. Because he knew that the people who really did please him were the people who loved, the people who did the right thing, regardless if they had tattoos, earrings, a wicked hat, I don't know. Regardless of what they looked out on their appearance, God didn't check that because he saw what's in here. That's why it said that God is so merciful and so open-hearted and open-minded. Why? Because he doesn't see a difference in people and their faces. So why do you see a difference in yourself and other people? God doesn't people please, and he's happy because he doesn't. God is happy because he knows what he wants and what he loves. God loves justice, love, and for people to their hearts be well. Not to please a moment. Because what if God did not say that to the religious people? And he said, yeah, just keep on doing what you're doing, you're fine. Then the church would still be corrupt, the church of that time. And I'm not saying that the church is not corrupt now sometimes too. But that doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. But what's more important is what you stand for and where you stand. Why? Because these are two challenges. Okay, challenge number 1. Stop, freeze, and check. Am I being stretched way too far? Every day, do I feel like I'm everywhere and I'm never anywhere? You might be people-pleasing. And if you are, I want to say, yeah, it's fine, leave it, but it's not fine. And you should do something about it. You should conquer it. Now do it with wisdom and with kindness and with peace. And maybe here's a suggestion. Part of the challenge is to stop, recognize your heart. Am I people pleasing? And then after that, who doesn't people please? Who do you know that does not do that? And that you could walk up to and say, hey, I noticed that you're honestly a little happier, you smile a lot, and you don't really care about what other people think, and you're generally a very nice person. How do you do what you do? And that's humbling. That's hit home. And when your heart becomes small, your heart becomes bigger. That's kind of weird, but when you somehow listen to this person who's going to give you advice, then you take it for yourself, and then you start breaking those attachments to do just what other people think you do. If you keep on living in that, you're never going to hear what your purpose is in life. Because your purpose comes from God. And so you're never going to listen to God if you're so worried about what other people think. Challenge number 2. It's not much of a challenge as it is much of an information to understand. I just want you to know this. That God stands for justice, love, and faith. So if you stand for justice, for what's good, for what's right, for defending people who are being hurt, for stopping injustice in everyday life, even politics, government, the current slave movement that still occurs, every type of bullying, all these things that stir your heart inside and make you upset, you stand for those things because you hate them. I bet you, promise you, don't even need a bet, that God is on your side as well. Why? Because when you hate a bully and how he treats somebody else, God also hates what the bully does to the other person. Why? Because that's the type of person that God is. God is somebody who stands for things that are worth it. And that's why he's happy. Because he stands for what matters. Maybe you can't hear, I stand for this. And maybe it's because you're too worried about what other people think about you. And you're pleasing everybody. But you're not pleasing the soul inside that's digging for something deeper. To the empty spot inside, I hope my gun works. You're special, you're valuable, and I promise, this life is actually pretty cool, and it's worth living. I want you to know that God will not stand on your side if you stand for injustice. Because why would God stand for injustice? If God stands for injustice, that means that he doesn't care if you suffer. Because injustice is when people suffer for a reason that is not good, that's not just. When people suffer, when people are in positions that they're not supposed to be in, and it's not their fault. If God stands for injustice, then he doesn't care about you. So you better be happy that God, I hope you're happy, that God is happy, because God stands for justice. And since he stands for justice, that means he cares about you. So I tried in different ways to basically say, care about yourself. Most importantly, God does care about you. But God cares about you in a way that's a little bit deeper, past than what you can think. He cares about you in a way that he knows what's good for you and what's good for the world. Because sometimes if you're asking and you're wishing for the wrong things, you're wishing to please others, you're wishing to have a low self-esteem, God doesn't wish that. And I believe that justice also comes in knowing your worth, knowing that you're valuable and you're special. So me and God do stand. I think we stand together on this one. That we believe that you are special, valuable, and good. Just how you are. Stand for what's right, stand for what's good. Don't think about what other people think about you. It's not worth it. Go ahead and cut that tornado by speaking those words into your soul, or receiving it from anybody else, from me or from anybody that you are. Especially I would appreciate it if you receive it from God, because he shuts it in 1 second. But God is love, and so to love to say, you are special.
Flor y Canto.